My sister and her friends are furious with me for eating at a hospital cafeteria.
Well, are you in the hospital?
They make me sick. I don't care. They make me sick.
Oh.
Okay, hear me out. I work just a few blocks away from the hospital, and I get there pretty quickly by bicycle. The cafeteria is quaint, and it has good prices. So usually once a week or so, I'll go there for lunch. The food isn't what I would call amazing, but they have a nice variety from time to time. The staff even recognizes me, and they're always pleasant. They don't mind that I'm just there for lunch, and it's far quieter eating there than at any local restaurant. I'm on the spectrum. I don't like loud noises, so the quiet lunches in this place are a godsend for me on some days. By the way, this comes from same philosopher 927 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So recently, my sister found out that I've been eating at the hospital. My sister went off on me over how hospital cafeterias are only supposed to be there for the people who are at the hospital because they need to be. I retorted that I was giving them business, and it's not like I was taking the food out of the mouths of patients.
Right, exactly.
But the question is, should you do that? I only went there once a week, so what was the big deal? But she still insisted that I was wrong. So then she got our parents involved, and they are siding with her. They are telling me that I should only be eating at the hospital if I had an actual reason to be there. I told them they were all crazy, and it was just normal food that I was paying for. But now neither they or I are backing down, and I'm torn. Am I the a-hole for going to eat lunch in a hospital cafeteria once a week just because I work nearby? There is an update, and let me tell you something, that it gets a lot worse. You think like, oh, this is going to be some benign. No, we are not even close to we're not even a quarter of the way through it yet. Update. Now, the situation escalated so radically that I cannot believe something so dumb actually happened. My sister did the pettiest thing she's ever done to me, and for completely undeserved reasons, too. So when my sister found out that I was eating at the hospital cafeteria, she went off on me over how that food is just for the people who are at the hospital because they need to be. We ended up in a big argument about it, which I told her it wasn't like I was taking food from the mouths of patients. Then she went to our parents to get them on her side like always, and they immediately sided with her just like I thought they would. They backed her up on how the hospital cafeteria was not a place to go eating casually, and we had a big argument. They spent days hounding me and telling me that I was wrong, and demanded that I stop. So we went to Reddit. We wanted to get the truth. And here I learned that not only was I not doing anything wrong, but it's a very common thing for people to just go and eat at hospital cafeterias just because they like it.
Is that common?
I hope the situation would just fade away. But a few days later, my sister called me asking if I had stopped eating at the hospital, and I said no. And then it started all over again. My parents then called me fuming and acting like I was supposed to stop going because they said so. I reminded them that I don't live under their roof anymore. And this is exactly the kind of reason why I moved out. They take my sister's side in almost everything.
Well, that's fair. I just feel that you keep telling me I can't eat at these cafeterias. I can't live like this.
They huffed and puffed about it. This time, the fight didn't stay at home, though. Other relatives found out because my sister tried to broaden her support. She was so set on enforcing her will upon me that she went looking for help from other relatives. But our parents were the only ones on our side, and my uncle personally admonished my parents and her over the phone for it once I told him what had actually happened. He told them that they were only siding with my sister because she's their favorite. At least we got one family member on OP's side, and their terrible parents for ever playing favorites to begin with. Then cousin went to eat with me at the hospital cafeteria and said he'd like to go there once a week too, as he also works nearby and bicycles everywhere. The war is growing.
The snowball is starting to grow.
So we've run into each other at lunch there already since then. He was actually rather pleased to find out the food was made healthier than most other places. He's kind of a picky eater. So this place is kind of like his new lunch hangout. And my sister got even angrier after finding out that there were other people in the family eating at the hospital now too. But once outed, my parents backed down due to the embarrassment. They apologized to me, gave me some malarkey that they honestly thought eating at the hospital was weird and that they felt like they just needed to defend my sister. I told him that they'd been placating my sister for so long that it's all they do whenever she starts something with anyone. She's been treating me like a condescending control freak and a bully since we were teenagers, even though I'm older than her, and they just keep enabling that. But I won't put up with it anymore. My parents ended up conceding and apologized. Then they made my sister apologize to me too, and I could tell she hated every second of it because she tried to speak to me through her teeth at first. Later on, my parents invited me to dinner as another form of an apology, but it felt more like a show to look good for the rest of the family because they told everyone about it even before it happened. The dinner was great. I can't deny.
Dinner was great.
No,
surprisingly better than hospital cafeteria food, which was a shock to me.
Oh my God. My parents had cooked a turkey, arguably one of my favorite things to eat. I love the drumsticks slathered in gravy. And yeah, I'm kind of a pig when I eat them, but I can't help it. My sister always thought it was hilarious. And it was one of the few things I don't mind her laughing about. So I thought nothing of why she was so giggly at dinner. Later, after that family dinner, I noticed that my bike was missing. Put some ICUs in the chat. I parked it in the backyard out of sight, but it was just gone. I freaked out because it was my only mode of transportation. My parents did panic a bit with me, but my sister seemed just the opposite. She actually looked happy and started giggling.
The worst poker face of all time.
I immediately suspected her, but she played innocent. She even gave the, "I can't believe you'd think I'd do something like that" line. Now, I already knew that she was extremely petty, the sister, but this was a whole new level of it for her. So I said that I was going to go over to the neighbor because I know they have cameras and they had seen what happened. And then I'd call the cops. My sister suddenly looked panicked and I got mad and said I knew it was her and demanded my bike back. She started crying and saying that she didn't do anything, and my parents were immediately taking her side while scolding me for daring to accuse her. So I had had enough and said I was going to the neighbors. So I was going to the neighbors to ask to check their cameras, and then I would be calling the police. My sister finally fessed up and called me to come back. I didn't know. Please don't do it.
Yeah, right.
About to get the hammer of justice, little lady. The looks on our parents' faces after they had just offended her were priceless. My sister said that she was so angry at me for having made her apologize for something she believed she was right about. She had planned to have a couple of her friends to come and grab my bike during dinner. She said her friends were in a minivan with it just down the street. She then started saying that I couldn't call police on her anyway because I'm her big brother. Our parents backed that up too, but I pulled out my phone and I started marching outside again. They ran after me with my sister begging and crying for me to stop. I called her a brat, and then I told my parents I couldn't believe they were still defending her when she was acting this way. Our parents finally hit their enabling limit with her and told her to make her friends bring my bike back immediately. She got on her phone while sniffling and called her friends up. But then she suddenly ran into her room to talk to them. I couldn't hear a thing she said through the door because it was all whispers, and our parents looked very worried too. My sister would never have willingly admitted that she had stolen my bike. She just kept sobbing that it was only a prank over and over again. It's just a prank, bro.
Literally.
It's brother. My kid, my flesh and blood.
Now that I've been caught, especially, it's just a prank.
That's it. Yeah. And she also kept using the excuse that it's just a cheap bike anyways. I bought it used some months ago for $50, but it's in great shape. Respect. And it's my main mode of transportation. My sister kept looking at our parents for backup, and that time they just couldn't. So she just slumped down in a chair, hugging her knees and waiting for the rest of us. My sister looked increasingly freaked out the longer her friends took to bring my bike back and was repeatedly texting them. Even though my sister said her friends were just down the street, it took them roughly an hour to bring my bike back. They finally pulled up in the minivan with my bike shoved in the back, and it was completely soaked and all muddy, like it had been just pulled out of a wet, muddy ditch.
Yeah. Destruction of property type beat?
I would love to to press play on that.
Yeah.
That would be great. I would play that on repeat.
Yeah, I
Yikes. The bike is a 700C, so it's too tall for either of them to ride. So they just drove right up and stole the bike by dragging it into the van so fast, as fast as they could before taking off. I say they stole it because I was almost certain in the moment my sister had told them to dispose of my bike. Had I not pointed out the neighbors have cameras, I may have not gotten it back. Now, when her friends finally did arrive, their legs were all muddy and wet and nearly up to their knees. They both begged me not to report them to the police for taking the bike. I asked while recording them to tell me the truth and pointed to the neighbors' cameras. Did my sister want them to get rid of my bike? They broke down and said yes. OP is like a master interrogator right now, just cracking the truth. And they look, yeah, you think you're so tough? You little friend's like, oh yeah, let's go steal his bike. You're squealing like a freaking pig. They broke down and say yes. My sister wanted him to take the bike and dump it in a pond a few miles away, and they had to go back and get it when they realized they were caught. My bike had been nearly completely submerged in muddy water. Thankfully, I didn't have many added accessories on it other than a detachable headlight and my water bottle, but the water bottle was missing. I wasn't surprised by what my sister's friends told me, and I had told them to tell our parents too. They laid into my sister till she was bawling on the floor, kicking and pounding like a toddler. I had never seen my sister act like that since she was actually a toddler, and I found it mortifying that she was still like this on the inside. Then she shut herself in her room. Her friends were banned from ever coming to my parents' house again. Then my sister was forced to come out of our room by our mother and make another big apology to me. So our father then forced her to wash and oil my bike from stem to stern under his supervision while I took apart the headlight and cleaned it out to dry it. By the time my sister was done, it was dark outside. She glared at me like I was the devil when she came back in the house. But our parents shut her attitude right down and said they'd never been more embarrassed by her in their lives. She went back to crying in her room, and I had a very frank discussion with my parents about my sister's childlike behavior and how it stemmed from their spoiling and enabling. I said I couldn't believe I had to be the voice of reason, but the fact that she was on the floor crying like a toddler, kicking and pounding, showed me that she's still mentally a child because of them. And they kept making me the scapegoat when she screwed up, so she barely knows any sense of accountability. For once, they didn't argue with me about it. And then my father silently drove me and my bike back to my apartment with his SUV. He also gave me some money to replace my bike's missing water bottle before we parted. Get him a new freaking bike, bro.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think we need a little bit more there.
We need more than like $10 for a water bottle.
Come on.
Okay. Yikes. So my sister and her clique used to harass me a fair bit whenever we ran into each other. They made fun of me as a group whenever possible, and I usually just ignored them because they bored me, and that really seemed to tick them off. But after the bike incident, I got sent numerous messages from numbers I don't know, cussing me out for making my sister cry over a silly prank.
A silly prank of you throwing my bike into a pond, hoping I never have it again?
It's just a prank, bro.
What?
Haha, we're supposed to laugh.
OP's only form of transportation, going to work, everything. Like, my God. Knowing her, my sister probably fed everyone she knew a very different story on what actually happened. I texted lengthy replies of what actually happened and even stated I have recordings of her friends admitting the truth. Send it. Send it, send it, send it all.
Do it.
Send it to everyone. Mass text. Some people at my sister's college found out what actually went down. I see you in the chat.
Ooh.
Maybe from texts, maybe from her friends who spilled the beans, but it embarrassed my sister so much that she came home having a crying tantrum about how people there were calling her and her friends bees and bike thieves. I may not have gone to college.
Wait, I'm sorry, what was that sound? Is that the sound of the consequences of your actions showing up?
Oh
my.
Oh
wait, you're not used to that, are you? Oh, well, hey, Welcome to reality.
Yeah. That's what happens.
You get what you freaking deserve.
God. Now, I may not have gone to college, but I know students who need them and are very protective of their bikes. A lot of them live on shoestring budgets after all. My sister said someone even joked that they shouldn't leave a bike around her because it might just disappear if she had to apologize to someone.
Yes.
That's fire.
Yes.
Great humor.
This is the proper use of shame.
Yes.
For real.
My sister ended up so upset that she refused to leave her room for 3 days to have her pity party. My parents called me up to try and turn everything on me again. I reminded them about the discussion we had just days before and that they needed to stop babying her and let her deal with the repercussions of her own actions. If she fails at her classes again, it's because she's not trying like she should be. Then I went off on them how they were just looking for someone to blame to make her feel better. She made the problem, not me, and I wasn't going to be the one they make the scapegoat anymore. My sister is an adult and she needs to act like it. They sounded defeated and then apologized before hanging up the call. Looks like they were genuinely hoping that I'd just sit back and take the blame so my sister would get better. But I never will again. By the way, you can never take anyone's crap again. And join us live every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. Just tap our profile. We're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. Join right now. Join the party. But Dakota.
Yes.
We have to talk.
Let's talk.
We have to communicate, brother. Wow.
Indeed.
What did we just witness?
I think we witnessed the end result of when parents like ruin their kid.
Yeah.
In like the way where instead of like it's kind of its own form of neglect in that you've neglected to teach your kid how the world functions. Like,
Definitely.
Like you throwing a tantrum because you have to throw an because you have to make an apology at college age. Like she's behaving like an 8-year-old.
Straight up.
And even then, at 8 years old, it's still like, all right, we should be understanding how to be like nice to people by 8.
Honestly, 8-year-old,
right?
that's a compliment for her. Like she is acting like pure toddler energy right here.
This is Terrible 2's type scenario.
Absolutely.
But like, I don't see a path forward other than her like it because the parents need to give the cold water. I don't even think the parents can. I think they are beyond repair. Like their fundamental relationship and dynamic with their daughter is so broken that I don't think they can do anything to help her at this point.
So let me ask you this. Like, it seems pretty clear that like maybe there's more incidences where she embarrasses herself again, but it doesn't show signs of her like stopping. Do we go like low to no contact? Do you think we go?
Yeah, no, I would go no contact.
I would do
with my
that too.
sister
Yeah,
until
100%. She doesn't deserve. She doesn't want to talk to me. She wants to just bully me.
Yeah, but let's finish this story. Now, my parents are trying to pretend this all never happened, and my sister, as well as her clique, are avoiding me at all costs, which I suppose is fine with me because I don't want any more drama. But the next time something like this happens from him, I won't take it from him. Okay?
And that's the end of the story.
That is a mic drop right there. That is a mic drop right there.
I won't take it from him.
I like it. As good as it can end. I think.
The sister might. Yeah, you know what? I'll just leave it at that. That is the best way that it could end.
She's got to learn some way.
She's got to learn.
Or she doesn't care.
Got to learn,
whatever.
and it's not OP's job either.
Exactly.
Not at all.
So
it looks like she's going to have to learn the hard way, which is all of the people around her that she used to think thought she was cool are not going to be like, oh yeah, it's you, the weird bike thief.
Dude, the fact that these people give like if my friend was like, oh hey, I'm gonna like take my brother's bike and like hide it in like a lake with mud and stuff, I'd be like, no.
Well, at first, wouldn't you'd be like, well, what did he do?
Yeah,
did he do something?
Why?
Yeah, he's eating lunch at a hospital once a week.